Hey guys, welcome to Comic Basic Lists, where we try to unravel everything we know about comics in 10 minutes or less. Today's list, the 10 most supremely evil Star Wars villains to have ever lived. Before we begin, I'm going to ask you two things. First, I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button right below this video. That way you'll be sure never to miss a video, and it helps this channel grow. Second, I need you to check out a website for me. I need you to go to www.comicsforcause.com. The link is in the description. Comics for Cause is a global initiative started by us here at Comic Basics that gives children all over the world a chance to escape their own realities through the medium of comic books. I strongly encourage you to check out the website, and if you can, help us. It's no secret that the world loves Star Wars. The franchise has been around for over 40 years, and while it's had a blip or two, it shows no sign of stopping. Since the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm, the once far, far away galaxy has come closer and closer. New movies, toys, comics, and other paraphernalia come out quicker than children and collectors can grab them. Its popularity has reached heights that it never reached. Star Wars has a fan base that extends multiple generations. The one underlying theme in Star Wars, and what's made it so successful, is its constant need to pit good against evil. Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul, Ahsoka Tano versus Barriss Offee. And it's the evil that this list is interested in. In the world of Star Wars villains, who are the vilest, sinister, and evil beings to ever exist? Are there 10 Star Wars villains who stand above the rest? We think so. Here are 10 of the most evil Star Wars villains to have ever existed. A little different than the other Sith Lords, Darth Nihilus does not kill for power. Darth Nihilus must kill to constantly satisfy his hunger for Force energy. That is, to stay alive, Darth Nihilus must constantly absorb the Force energy of those around him. Due to his hunger, Darth Nihilus became one of the most feared Sith Lords in history. As Nihilus made his way through the galaxy continuously feeding, he began to realize that his constant need to feed had caused his body to begin decaying. So as to stop his physical form from dying, he removed his spirit from his body and placed it inside his armor. This change turned the already dangerous Nihilus into a being that resembled a ghost more than he did a man. Aside from having one of the most fear-striking looks in Star Wars, his control of the Force rivals anyone on this list. Worse yet, because he did not kill for power but rather survival, he's extremely dangerous. Evil for different reasons than the rest makes no difference. Darth Nihilus deserves to be mentioned as one of the most evil Star Wars villains around. Pao Wan was a Jedi Knight who left his teachings to become one of the most feared Jedi hunters in the galaxy. During the bombing of the Jedi Temple that saw the persecution of Ahsoka Tano, it was he who actually gave aid to the true offender Barriss Offee. The bombing rattled everything the Jedi stood for to the core, and Jedi all over, including Pao Wan, began questioning the things they stood for. After his fall, or rise to the dark side depending on which you choose, Pao Wan found himself under the command of Darth Vader. Due to his personal knowledge of the temple, Pao Wan was of great use to the Sith Lord. From the records that the temple held, he immediately began devouring as much information on his new enemies as he could. He then used this information to track down Jedi one by one and destroy them. His most famous victim was that of Luminara Unduli. After the issue of Order 66, Unduli was captured and held in the Spire. Shortly after her arrival, she was killed and her corpse used as a way to lure surviving Jedi into attempted rescues. Not much needs to be said. Darth Vader is one of the most supremely evil Star Wars villains to have ever lived. A child prodigy that was deemed too old to train was trained anyways. Said child prodigy excelled in all areas of what it is to be a Jedi, save for an unwillingness to let go of the connections they have to others. As the child matures, he falls hopelessly in love with a senator of the Republic. For the next many years, he fights alongside the Jedi, slowly becoming disillusioned with their ways. Many things contribute to this, none of which are more important than the leaving of his Padawan Ahsoka, the loss of his mother Shmi, and the fear that he may lose his wife Padme. Sensing an opportunity, Chancellor Palpatine, also the unknown Sith Lord Sidious, convinces him to give up his Jedi ways and come to the dark side. From this point forward, the now titled Darth Vader goes on to become the most ruthless Sith in the galaxy. The personification of patience, Palpatine is the Sith Lord who took control of the Senate, turned half the galaxy against Jedi and the Republic, and ruled it with an iron fist. Sheev Palpatine was trained under the watchful eye of Darth Plagueis. Through the manipulation of Plagueis, Palpatine successfully planned and killed his father. And once his father was dead, Palpatine pledged his service to Darth Plagueis and took the name Darth Sidious. While under the tutelage of Plagueis, Palpatine rose to political prominence as the Naboo ambassador, trained his own apprentice Darth Maul, and learned how to hide his true identity from those around him. Eventually, Palpatine was elected as Supreme Chancellor, and this election culminated in his ascension to the Emperor of the Galaxy. Of all the Sith Lords before and after, none are more treacherous, dangerous, and evil than Darth Sidious. Not only should he be on this list of evil Star Wars villains, he practically created the need for it. Thrawn was a male Chiss who served in the naval services of the Empire. Due to his expertise and strategy, Thrawn rose to the ranks within the Empire. Despite being a species that could not rise to power within it, he became Grand Admiral. Sidious said this of him: This one is constantly thinking, analyzing, strategizing. He showed no fear, but was curious, studying me in turn. His career began as a simple officer in the Chiss Defense Corps, where he quickly showed his willingness to complete his missions with no consideration for life. He first met Sidious after destroying half of his private force. At its conclusion, the two agreed that they were not at war with one another, but rather had a common enemy in a group of far outsiders. The two sealed their agreement, and Thrawn set out and successfully took down the Jedi-carrying ship, Outbound Flight. Originally created outside the mainstream Star Wars universe, Thrawn grew such a fan following that he became part of canon and continues to thrive there today. Thrawn is both ruthless and tactile. While many others simply jump into battle and hope for the best, Thrawn analyzes his enemies and attacks in ways that quickly bring them to their knees. It's his willingness to use his brain that makes him such a villainous character. Like many before him, the once Jedi Master Dooku became disillusioned with the corruption in the Senate. His growing disillusionment forced him into leaving the Jedi. Shortly after leaving, he was taken in by Darth Sidious, promised power, and trained as a Sith Lord. Now called Darth Tyrannus, Dooku led the droid armies during the Clone Wars. In essence, he became the figurehead of the Separatist movement. At his master's side, the two plotted to overthrow the Republic and Jedi, and see the Sith rise to power once again. Dooku was heavily involved with both the cloning process that gave the Republic its army and the chips placed inside the clones. These chips, when given the command and enacted the dreaded Order 66. Order 66, of course, was the order given to the clones by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine to kill all the Jedi. During his time under Sidious, Dooku, like many Sith Lords before him, plotted to overthrow his master. This led to the training of Asajj Ventress, Quinlan Vos, and Savage Opress. Dooku, along with his master, changed the course of the galaxy forever. If not for his work, Order 66 may never have happened. Before the rise of the Empire, Wilhuff Tarkin served under Evan Peel as Republic captain. He was later taken prisoner by the Confederacy of Independent Systems, but eventually rescued by a Jedi and their team. During the rescue, Peel was killed and Tarkin was promoted to Admiral. After the Senate became the Empire, Tarkin was once again promoted and became the first Grand Moff. He was appointed to the newest weapon, the Death Star, and while in control, obliterated the planet Alderaan. And he did this to showcase the power of the weapon and send fear through the galaxy. A product of his upbringing, Tarkin believed that the strong and the wise remained in power and were destined to control all of those beneath them. This thought drove him, and through it, he rose through the ranks of the Empire and ultimately to the control of the Death Star. Always at battle with the Jedi and the Rebels, Grand Moff Tarkin is one of the most callous individuals in all of Star Wars. His desire to prove his power, all the while inciting fear into all those who opposed him, is rivaled by very few. What makes Tarkin so special is that he's not a Sith, and he doesn't need to be. He is truly one of the most evil Star Wars villains, period. A Jedi Knight who fought in the Mandalorian Wars, Darth Malak is both treacherous and evil by every accord imaginable. Malak, once named Alec, was trained as a Jedi by the Jedi Order. During the Mandalorian Wars, Alec, along with his best friend Revan, disobeyed the Jedi Order and gave aid to the Republic war effort. Now considered an outlaw by the Jedi Council, he took on the name Malak so as to avoid capture. Malak eventually rose to general while gaining a reputation as a brave warrior. The two, Malak and Revan, ultimately won the war and at its conclusion followed the surviving Mandalorians into a nearby cave. Inside the cave, the two encountered a Sith Lord who ultimately turned them to the dark side. Malak was once a Jedi with an unrivaled sense of justice. Unfortunately, his sense of justice allowed him to pass the gap between light and dark, or good and evil. Considered one of the best duelists of his time, Malak was extremely powerful in the Force. In fact, on more than one occasion, he utilized Force Choke on two beings at once. Most impressively, through his understanding of the Force, he also had the ability to increase his own abilities and limit the abilities of his enemies. Born to Mother Talzin of the Night Sisters, groomed by Darth Sidious and having lived in exile for the better part of a decade, Darth Maul has been through more in his life than many go through in multiple lives. At a young age, Darth Maul was taken by Darth Sidious and trained as a Sith. Sidious was able to take Maul from the Night Sisters because of an unkept promise he made Mother Talzin. He promised her that the two would rule the galaxy together, but he needed to train her son. This, of course, did not happen and eventually she fell to his armies. Under Sidious, Maul's contempt for the Jedi grew. During a brief stopover in Tatooine that saw the recruitment of Anakin Skywalker to the Jedi, it was Darth Maul who revealed to the Jedi that the Sith still exist. The battle with the Jedi Knight Qui-Gon Jinn was short-lived, but Maul, through his quick and acrobatic style, showed that he was not to be taken lightly. The two, along with Jinn's apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi, would fight one more time. This time, rather than having the Jedi escape, Maul struck down Jinn before being cut in half by Kenobi. As it turns out, Maul did not die, but was forced to live in exile. While living in exile, he was able to dwell on his defeats. This, more than his hate, heightened his disdain for the Jedi. Not only is Darth Maul one of the most recognizable figures in Star Wars, he's also one of the most popular. His exciting fighting style is difficult to defend, and his use of a double-end lightsaber is equally challenging. For these reasons and more, Darth Maul deserves to be on this list of Star Wars villains. Born long before the Battle of Yavin, the once named Tenebrae carved out his reputation through the massacre of thousands of innocents. His lust for power grew so strong that he put his own mother and father through torment and torture. Seeing his power, the Sith Lord Marka Ragnos gave him the name Lord Vitiate. As he aged, he grew tired of the power struggles within the Sith and distanced himself from them. In fact, at the conclusion of the Naga Shadow's defeat, he coerced the remaining lords into coming to him. One by one, as they arrived, he drained both their life force and the life force of the surrounding planet. With so many Sith gone, he dropped the name Lord Vitiate and led the remaining Sith in a galaxy-wide takeover. Not satisfied with the ways of the Sith, Vitiate transferred his life force into the body of a Zalukan warrior and created the Eternal Empire. Vitiate longed for nothing more than he did immortality. To do this, he constantly drained the life force of Jedi, Sith, and every other being. This led to the Mandalorian Wars, of which his eventual students, Revan and Malak, surfaced. Vitiate's reputation was built on his lust to live forever and desire to achieve it by any means necessary. For these reasons and more, he deserves a spot on this list of evil Star Wars villains. And there you have it, our top 10 of the most supremely evil Star Wars villains that have ever lived. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who would make your evil Star Wars villains list? Leave it in the comments below. As always, I'm going to ask you 3 things before you go. First, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button. It really helps this channel grow. Second, if you really liked it, give the video a share and let someone else like it too. Third, I'm going to ask you to check out 2 websites. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I need you to go check out Comics for Cause at www.comicsforcause.com. The link is in the description. Comics for Cause is a global initiative created by my brother and I here at Comic Basics that sees the distribution of comic books all over the world to children who need them most. Check out the website, and if you can, I encourage you to help us. Second, I need you to check out Comic Basics, of course. Comic Basics is the parent company to this YouTube channel, and it has more information than we can cram into any of these videos. You can find it at www.comicbasics.com. The link is also in the description. Thanks guys, and we will catch you next time.